right next to each other, all looked kind of the same. The only difference was their face was different. And I recognized some of their faces, and it really shocked me. Like I'd seen them in high school or somewhere. Okay, so right after that, my second thought was, why are they screaming like that? Because it was very, very, very disturbing screaming. It's not the normal screaming you hear when somebody burns himself. This is like way worse than that. But everybody was doing it, so it was like immediately after I asked the question, I was teleported or transferred into their mind and their spirit, or I was like I was given their thoughts and feelings, emotions, and everything, and they were thinking the most awful thing you could imagine, and it was endless. What they thought was endless. They kept going and going and going, and it was so bad that the fire burning them, they couldn't feel it, because what they're thinking was so horrible that the fire didn't matter. Okay. Out in the distance, there was light. It was where God was. And I don't know how I knew that, but I looked up and I saw kind of a sphere of light, and that's where God was. And so, as they were looking at this light, knowing where that's where God was, they were separated here on earth, or not. It wasn't earth, but it was like it wasn't that place. It was this place, and their thoughts were, they hated God, they had regret and despair, okay, and they had thoughts within each main item. The hatred toward God was enormous. It was like beyond your comprehension of hate, and then regret because of why they were there, and despair because they could never leave, and they would endlessly think this, and it was all because they were separated from God. The separation is where the torment comes from, and it was just so awful that I could never joke about. People casually say, "Hey, go to hell," make comments like that. Hell was so real and so awful that I can't joke about it. But it was all based on separation. It's not what you typically see in movies and cartoons or whatever. The torment is being separated and never being able to be with the Father. And the whole reason, people ask me, why'd you see that? And I don't tell people this story a lot, but I was like, what the heck? People need to know. It's what's at stake. That's why I saw it. God was showing me, this is why I allowed myself to be nailed on a cross, to give salvation to everybody. He was the perfect sacrifice for all of us, because it was of himself. And that's why he doesn't want us to be separated like that. It was so awful that I could see why he wanted to do that, because he didn't want us to be separated from him. And I'm not a scholar of biblical studies, and I really don't care about all that stuff. To me, it's all about the relationship you have, and it's just like any relationship. You want it to be real, and you always want to keep working on it, because it can always be better. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's the work that you do. But that's my testimony, and I hope that it blesses somebody and speaks to them to pursue greater knowledge of what God is and what he's trying to do, and what's really at stake. And I know now what's at stake, and it's totally worth following Christ and belonging to him, to not be separated. It is so worth it. It's worth going through torment and anguish and all these things on earth while you're alive, to be able to attain that, because it never ends. relationship with the Lord never ends, but everything else does. All the hard times you're going through right now, they'll end. And, sooner or later, they'll end. And, as long as you know God is in control, what do you have to fear? So, I hope this was encouraging to somebody. And feel free to send a message. If you want to know more details about my experience, I've got more. This is kind of like tip of the iceberg. There's probably a lot more to it, but I'll spare you the details now. Thanks a lot. Bye.